And we're gonna talk. Let's see. Our subject. Let me move this. Our subject tonight is the movies versus the books.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. How should we start this?
Um.
Well, in general, the books were way better than the movies.
Yeah.
There's a different feel
The,
to the books. The books.
when it comes to the thing is when it comes to books and movies in general,
Mhm.
usually the books always beat out the movies. That's true in this
Like
case.
99% of the time, yeah.
It does, and it's very true in this case. Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's true. Um.
The first movie,
The okay.
Twilight.
Yeah.
You want to start with that?
Okay. Well, first we're gonna point out the fact that every single movie, besides Breaking Dawn, split into two parts, is directed by a different director.
Mm-hmm.
There's all three. Twilight, New Moon, and Eclipse are all three different directors. So basically, you're getting a different take on each and every single movie. It's not like consistent.
Yeah.
And I must say one thing: thank God, not all of them were directed by the first one.
That was Catherine Hardwicke, which
Yes.
she was a pretty good director.
Well, yeah, I understand that, but the way
Um,
she interpreted Twilight, I felt
she
was
yeah she
wrong.
see the first book made you fall in love with Edward and Bella and all the simple characters like Charlie and Jacob. Jacob had a small part. It introduces you into this new
Into the
world
world.
that you love so much. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there are certain parts in the first book, really sweet romantic parts, and really informative parts. Like you learn Carlisle's background in the first one and stuff, and all that was kind of left out in the movie. They're sweet, it was kind of put together along the same path, but it left out a lot of the important. What I liked about the book was not in the movie.
Right.
Therefore, um,
Some people may like the first one. Some people think
well,
it
yeah,
was maybe done well,
it
but
could have been worse.
it could have. But honestly,
I didn't when I first saw it. I remember I had all four books read before I first saw the first movie. And I rented it for the first time, and I was so excited to see these characters come to life on screen. You know what I mean? And then I watched it expecting to feel what I felt when I first read Twilight, and I didn't. So at first, honestly, I was disappointed with the movie. But I watched it twice, and the second time I was like, well, that ain't too bad. I can accept
right.
this.
I did another time and I was like, okay, this isn't too bad, but
Yeah,
the thing is, so there's that. New Moon, that came closer.
that was a lot better. I
It was
really
like
didn't
from
have
the
much of a
first like
problem
from
with
the
that.
first one to New Moon, it was a big improvement. Like
Huge.
huge improvement. Like it took really big strides up to that point.
The visuals were great. Seeing the
Yeah,
wolves
the
come to life for the
wolves,
first time,
everything.
that was like my favorite thing.
The
Seeing
animation
the
was
wolves.
awesome. It was like top
Yep.
notch, and it made it look really, real. And when you get come to the transition of New Moon, where Edward's gone,
Hmm.
and Jacob takes over this role that Bella needs this
That was almost impossible to fill.
right. The way she explains everything, like we said, read the book, but
Yeah.
the way she explains things, you believe that nothing is ever going to fix this,
Yeah, it
and
tears
then
your heart
it
out. In
does.
New Moon, when you read it and Edward leaves, it's almost like you're Bella and the love of your life is
You feel
leaving
the
you, and you feel
characters,
it. You feel it. It
and
just burns
then
into your chest.
all of a sudden Jacob comes out of nowhere and almost starts to it it's not like a quick fix. Like it didn't just
No, they were friends
fix.
for like months before it
And
started getting really close.
and
But
then all of a sudden it started to
he was
it,
light in complete darkness. You know what I mean?
basically he was
I
like the
mean,
candle burning like a
exactly.
mile away in this dark like world that she's living in.
And he didn't completely light up the world, but
No.
he was all that she had. And
And
now
it grew it
yep,
grew into something that she wasn't expecting.
yep, and he was thrown into this world of make
Where
believe
you're right.
almost.
And it's
He
like,
found out
what?
he's a werewolf, and now it's the perfect thing. You meet the
And
vampires in Twilight, and then you meet the wolves in New Moon. You know what I mean?
and
And
now what I was going to say is New Moon, that's such a big part in New Moon when really it's almost like after New Moon, your Bella and the relationship with Jacob all of a sudden has just like it's completed itself to basically set itself up for the other two books.
Yeah.
And that's where you leave off from there. Now, to me, that's a really important part when she makes this transition from Edward leaving, which is like her everything,
Yeah.
to Jacob, this light and her complete darkness.
Yep.
So they're two really important things, and the transition that was made with New Moon in the movie, I thought was great.
Yeah.
I thought like the way
They got it
who
down
did
to
it?
who?
The director of the New Moon.
His name was Chris something. Yeah, it was Chris Wheats, I think his name was.
Whites.
Whites or something.
Either way, it
Eclipse
was
was
done.
like David Slade, I think his name was, who did Eclipse.
Oh, well, I just believe that that was such a big part from the transition of her being so alone and sitting for months and everything to all of a sudden becoming really close with Jacob. Whilst never, Edward never leaves her mind, but it the way it was done in the movies it was like dead on with like the
Yeah,
books, and
the
I was
important
like,
parts of New Moon were in the movie.
right, and that
Though,
was the
though
point,
the feel was different, you know what I mean? I mean, overall, the books
See,
better
I
than the
started with
movie.
New Moon with the movies.
Yeah,
That was the movie I started with,
that's
and just
that's
from
what
then,
pulled him in.
it got me. And
Yep.
honestly, New Moon, and that's a big thing. That's why Jacob is one of my favorite characters because that's where he's really introduced and that's where he's really brought into the main storyline. And I guess that's just with what I started with. So then once I read the books and everything, that just stuck with me because that's what I started with.
Yeah,
So that's just important to me. And
I'm sure it is for a lot of people
well,
too.
yeah, of course. And let's see Eclipse. I think Eclipse was
Eclipse was good too because Eclipse was my favorite book of the four.
yes, it was my favorite too. And
So to capture the tension between wolf and vampire.
to see them come together,
Yep.
like because when you're reading
Yeah,
the book and they're coming together as one in one book, because
as a
usually you're
team
like
to fight off a common enemy.
right, because usually you're like one book vampires, one book
But
werewolves
now Eclipse is both of them.
together.
A perfect mix of both.
Right. It was like half and half. It was
Yep.
perfect, and it was balanced out so well. And that's another
And it
thing
was
with
ideal.
Stephanie Meyer. You could easily throw that out of whack. You could easily, throw vampires one way, werewolves this way, and just biasly focus on one or the other. But she does not let you do that at
Yep.
all because it's like you're reading about vampires, 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 bam, werewolves. And then you're stuck on werewolves for a while, and then it shoots over to vampires. So it's like you're getting a mix. And then next thing you know,
Yeah, it's like
towards
chemistry.
the end,
A perfect chemistry.
it comes together as
Yep.
one. So it's like back and forth, and it mixed. It mixed so well.
Yep.
And that did good in the movie because,
Yep.
honestly, when you see them together and you see the animation with the action and everything,
Yeah.
it was done well. It was done really
Done very well. New Moon and Eclipse were done very well. Twilight could have been better, but you know what? It was pretty worthy to me. You know what I mean? But
Now-
overall, still, if you've only seen the movie and haven't read the book and think, "Oh, I don't need to read the book," you're very wrong. Because you're going to get something totally different reading the book. You're going to get the 100% full story.
I can tell you that right now because that's from experience with me.
Exactly.
Honestly, if I would have never read the books, no. That would have been probably the worst decision I've ever made. Ever.
I know, yeah.
Like, ever. Like, no, it would
It
have
was
been...
important. That's why I shoved it.
It was.
I
It
told
was
him
so
that day.
important
I'm
because
like,
I
please
really...
read the books.
Because I couldn't watch the movie, understand exactly what happens, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to read the books. Well, I already know what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I gave it a shot because I'm that kind of, I'm that type of person. I'm like, fuck, screw it. And I'm like,
And
I'm going to do
Twilight's
it.
unique with this type of thing. Some movies you can watch and not have to read the book.
Right. But
But Twilight, you got to read the book.
you have to.
Whether you see the movies first or not, it doesn't matter.
Just do it.
Just read the whole series and go from there.
Yeah. And
You
you
know
can
what I
pick. You can pick, hey, I like the movies, hey, I like the books. It ain't a big deal.
Yep.
If you like Twilight, you like Twilight.
Yep.
And,
And on to Breaking Dawn.
Breaking Dawn,
Breaking Dawn was the single best.
the best interpretation
Of
that
the
there
book.
could ever be. Like,
Everything you loved about the book, the romance, the sad parts, the
And
tension
then-
of Bella giving birth to a half vampire, half human.
that was intense.
the Jacob imprinting onto Renesmee. That was the best part.
All of
Probably
it,
in the whole series.
it's basically like it's like the because when you get visuals to
yeah.
something in front of your own eyes instead of your brain making it up, when you get these visuals and when the visuals match what you're thinking, that is the best experience ever because it's like your ideas from your brain are just
Exactly.
being like hopped up on cocaine and thrown into a movie, and it's like
It's what you saw and loved about it in the book, right in front of
right in
you
front
on
of
the
you,
silver
like
screen.
coming to life with real people in real life,
Yep.
and it's
It captured the total essence, the full-on
Bill Condon should have won something.
Mojo.
I'll tell you that right
I
now.
know.
Like, I mean, they Breaking Dawn won Best Movie of MTV in
Yep.
2012, Best Movie of the Year, and
The
I
critics
agree
liked
with
it
that.
too. Yep.
Yeah, they
It was
did.
the intensity, everything that the book
It
delivered
delivered
was there
even
in the
more
movie. You know what
because
I
you know
mean?
what? You
It
don't
left
need
very little out.
very little, like very minuscule, non really important things.
Hmm.
But the thing is, when it comes to like people never reading Twilight, like they didn't read it, they didn't watch any of the movies, and if you just popped Breaking Dawn in, you would love it because just the movie done as the movie is great. It's a good movie, like I
I
said.
know. It almost
One, two,
it
three
brought
is like
tears to my eyes, just
it
like the
was
book.
like from a directly movie standpoint. Like when you actually want to criticize a movie, you're a movie critic.
Hmm.
Breaking Dawn got good reviews as just a movie critic. Nothing about the books, nothing about anything. It was just a good movie. And when you throw in the fact of us, and we're so diehard about the books in general, and then you see it come to life on the big screen, it was like it was
That was
awesome.
great.
And you know what? That scene with Jacob crying after he thought Bella died, that was not in the book.
Nope, it wasn't.
That was added, and that
He
was
was.
such a good touch.
Yep.
That was such a good touch. I loved it. I'm like, this was not in the book, but I'm about to cry because
He
it was
cried
so
in a
good.
few scenes in New Moon and stuff.
Yeah, but
That they didn't
that
add in New Moon, but
no,
to
but
see
that was
Jacob have
intense.
tears was
It was like
it's an
breakdown.
important touch because Jacob is kind of a
He's a hothead.
he's a hothead.
He doesn't
He's
cry.
tough. He's not gonna cry. You know what I mean? But he really loves Bella, probably just as much as Edward
Genuinely,
does.
yes.
It's and Edward knows it and everything. And seeing her,
They know it.
him believing she's dead, was devastating.
It's
to him.
heartbreaking, and it's like it's a.
And it's
haven't
like
seen him break down like that. Just there, it's
you're at the worst possible situation these characters can go through.
yes.
But in reality, it's giving birth to
Something,
everything they'll ever need. Something that will bring the wolves and vampires together.
It's like
which is
it's like
Renesmee.
yin and it's like yang.
Yep.
You can't have one without the other. And honestly,
It's what Jacob
if you're gonna
needed.
go through hell, that's what you have to do
Yep.
to get to the good. Because what
To
happens
get
at the end of
your
Breaking
place.
Dawn, well, movie wise, part
Yeah.
one, it brings everything together. It ties everything together. It just does. Everything in Breaking Dawn literally finishes off Twilight like
Yep.
it was supposed to be finished off.
The movie couldn't have captured that feeling.
See, now the thing is, though, is if they ever had a spin-off with Jacob and Renesmee,
that'd be a whole other series.
yeah, it could. She said it
Yep.
could be, but she said, there's a very good possibility for that. And honestly, I'd love it.
Yep.
I would
well, of
love
course.
it just as
All Twilight fans
just as
would
much.
love it.
Yeah, they'd love it. That's just something. It's something
Oh,
to be immersed back
yeah.
into. After it's been released for so long, these books and everything, and then next thing you know, you get like this, like it just throws in there again, and you're thrown back into it, and
Yeah.
that'd just be a great experience.
But yeah,
Something-
Breaking Dawn was. I don't think it could have been done better. New Moon and Eclipse were worthy. Twilight obviously could have been done better,
Yes.
but I'm fine with it now.
Well, yeah, it's not
It grows on you.
It's
know
not
what
a
I
big
mean?
deal,
So
'cause
all the
you learn
directors
to
should be
accept
proud.
it.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it could have been a lot worse. I've seen some
And you
really
know what?
terrible
Yes.
book to movie.
But you know what, though,
interpretations.
when you think about it, when you're trying to make a series like Twilight, a book series like Twilight, like just the way we look at it, can you try to make that into a movie? That's a tough job.
It's tough, but
It's really
Bill
tough.
Conde did it very well.
Condon, he was just
What's his name?
Bill Condon.
Condon. Okay.
Condon.
Okay.
But literally, like it shouldn't say it right on. Oh, maybe it doesn't.
Yep.
Either way, though, like put that into a movie, to put the Twilight series into a movie is a tough job. And if you can do it at least to a decent extent, like
New Moon and
Hardwick
Eclipse.
or whatever,
Yeah.
she did it pretty decent.
Well, yeah.
It
She
was
did.
pretty decent. Don't get me wrong; it's not my favorite out of them, but
It's the basis of the whole story. You get the picture.
You
know
get
what
the
I mean?
picture, yeah,
But the
you
book
get the
touches
basic
you in
picture.
ways the movie can't.
no,
And
not in a million years.
Breaking Dawn does touch you in ways the book did. Especially me, especially the
Oh,
impartation
yes.
scene where
The movie really,
Jacob
really,
and Prince on Renesmee. That was just, oh my gosh, I wanted to cry. Overall,
dude. Part two, oh god, no,
it's the last one, and it's
It's
coming
the
out.
last one, and it's gonna.
We're gonna be there.
We are.
And you Twi-guys better be there too.
Yeah, and we will be
And
making
be proud
combos.
to be there.
Yeah, don't be ashamed. You will go there and you will be there with pride.
Yep. Just
Love
like
the
we were.
movies. Love the books.
Yep.
Love Twilight all around. Team Twilight.
Team Twilight for sure.
Please.
But anyway, that's our opinion of the
Movies and
movies and
books.
books, and I think we did pretty good.
And honestly, I think this is the theme. Don't the for being the series that it is, the movies did a pretty good job.
Very good.